and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. I also have some self-study courses about manifesting your specific person, and I do have a members-only channel with a lot of perks for members, including weekly live workshops with a different manifesting topic each week, weekly live group coaching, a lot of exclusive content, monthly challenges for a chance to win a free one-on-one coaching session with me, and a lot more. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website or to the membership channel. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I want to address a concern that is brought to me very, very often. I dare say almost on a weekly basis. And that is, why is it so challenging? Why can it be so difficult to maintain a mental diet? It does sound quite simple, right? You maintain your focus and you maintain your attention on what you actually want. So then, why is it so difficult for us to do just that? And since for most people, it does end up being more challenging than they thought, what can you actually do to overcome that challenge and learn to actually focus your attention on what it is that you're manifesting? So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So as I said in my intro, this is a concern and this is a problem and a block that so many of you bring to me when we do coaching, also in the members channel, a lot of the times in the comments as well in my videos. And I want to assure you before I begin and go into the nitty-gritty of the video that this is actually a universal experience. And the reason why it is a universal experience is because all of us are conditioned from birth to think of the 3D as the one and only reality. We are conditioned to trust our senses. We are conditioned to think that what we see in front of us and the circumstances that we experience in our present are the only reality, the only truth, and we are not used to trusting anything that we don't see or don't perceive with our five senses. As Neville himself has also very aptly put it, our imagination actually follows the familiar path. In other words, our imagination favors going for the familiar, favors going for what is already a habit. And so if our habit for years or for decades even, in some cases, is to think negatively, to think, for example, that the world is against us, to be waiting for the other shoe to drop, to be thinking very unfavorably about ourselves, about others, about the circumstances in our lives, to consider ourselves victims of life and of this world, and so on, you get the gist. It is actually not the easiest thing in the world to break that pattern and immediately go towards the opposite pattern, where we actually start assuming favorably about ourselves, the world, others, our circumstances, and so on. So in other words, yes, we do have an imagination, but most of us are conditioned to use it in the conservative way, as Neville would put it. In other words, we are used to be following our memories, what we remember of things, of people, how we assume ourselves to be, how we assume our circumstances to be, what we expect out of circumstances, and so on. And this is our habitual mental pattern, you guys. And so when we stumble upon these teachings and we start to learn that, wait a minute, actually the conditions of my life are a direct reflection of what I have within, of my assumptions within, of my dominant energy within, of my dominant vibration within. And as such, if I want to change or improve the circumstances of my life, I need to change who I am within. At first, it sounds very simple, and it is simple, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing to implement, at least at first. Why? Because of what I just discussed. Because our habit has been formed towards a different direction. What we're familiar with is in a different direction to what we're trying to create as our new reality. The way in which we're used to thinking, the way in which we're used to seeing the world and seeing reality is very, very different to what we're actually trying to create. And so, of course, our mind is going to go in direct opposition to us and feed us with all the reasons why what we want cannot happen, why it is impossible, why it is very hard, why the circumstances are against us, why the world will never say yes to what we want, and so on and so forth. It's not because any of that is true, but it feels true to us because this is how we're used to seeing the world, and this is how we're used to viewing reality. And so this is why, for most people, when they start implementing these teachings, when they start attempting to maintain a good mental diet, a mental diet that is aligned to what they actually want, and when they attempt to shift their energy and the vibration towards what they want, this actually ends up being more challenging and more difficult than they anticipated. So then you're going to ask, okay, so what do I do? Am I doomed to my social conditioning? Am I doomed to how I'm used to seeing reality? Am I doomed to my habit? Not at all. This is the good news. Neuroscience has actually proved to us that we are able to form new neural pathways in our brain at all times, at any moment, at any minute, up until the end of our lives, you guys. And that means if we are really aware and really disciplined, we are actually able to train our mind to unlearn a lot of the things that we have learned before and relearn new mental habits. What do you need for that? You need repetition, you need persistence, you need awareness, and you need discipline. In addition to this, you also need to have a burning desire for change. Whatever is the situation or the situations or experiences in your life that you are changing, you need to have a burning desire to change these. And that burning desire, to borrow Neville's term, needs to be stronger than your desire and your inclination, your natural human inclination to stay in your comfort zone. Because in other words, if you don't have a burning desire for change or improvement of your current circumstances, of your life, and so on, chances are you're not going to be motivated enough to make that change. And chances are that you may give up sooner or later, usually sooner. So assuming that you have that burning desire that is going to keep you going, despite the challenges that you may face in the beginning, you can absolutely, through repetition, through persistence, through a continuous shifting of your attention to the things that actually align with what you want, as opposed to keeping your attention to all the things that you don't want, even if that is your current 3D reality, you are forming new habits, new mental habits, new emotional habits, new habits in your brain, in your body, new habits in yourself, in how you see reality. And what that is going to give you is that it's going to give you a very, very different reflection of reality that is more and more and more and more aligned with what you actually want to experience. And I've said this before, is this a change that happens overnight? For most people, it's not a change that happens overnight. For most people, it's a gradual change. But the good news here is that as soon as you start being consistent with it, very, very soon, you start seeing a change. You start feeling a shift within, which is the first sign of a change. So it's not like you'll be going months and months and months feeling no shift inside. For most people, if you are consistent, you are going to start feeling that inner shift and that inner change pretty soon. I dare say within days, maybe weeks, if that. And then, yes, of course there is some wavering, of course there is some back and forth, of course all of us have better days and more challenging days, but the overall trajectory is always upwards. The overall trajectory is always onwards. It's always progress. So it gets better, you guys. It gets better and it gets easier, but it requires your attention, it requires your awareness, it requires your discipline, and it requires, as we said, your burning desire to change those circumstances of your life that you want to change. And that desire needs to be stronger than your inclination to stay in your comfort zone and do nothing and accept the present conditions. Because yes, as you're forming a new habit, it is not always going to be comfortable. Your mind might fight you, especially in the beginning. And that is because you haven't formed the habit yet within you to view the world in a way that is aligned with your desires. This is the habit that you're forming. This is what you're doing through repetition, through awareness, through diligence, and through discipline. This is what you're doing by being consistent and by being loyal to your desire and the changes in your life that you're manifesting. And once these new habits start to be formed, you will notice and you will see how much easier it becomes. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more natural it becomes, the less challenging it feels, and the less difficult it feels. It's all a matter of habit and what is familiar to you, you guys. So if you truly have a burning desire to change the conditions of your life, Whatever that is, whether that's multiple areas or one area, whether it's love, money, relationships, your SP, your health, your fitness, your social life, whatever it might be, if you have that burning desire and you stay consistent in changing those habits into new mental habits that are going to align with what you actually want, you are going to see a huge difference in your 3D. You are going to see a huge difference first internally, and then it's going to be reflected from the external world to you, and it's going to be in alignment with what you actually desire. So I encourage you to do the inner work, to stick with it, and to train yourself to form these new mental habits. And you are going to see in not so long how much your life is going to change. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.